This is the Capitol Rundown.
We are not going to whittle away at our Second Amendment rights. I'm not going to do it.
I see Michigan all over the state ripe for bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles.
People are sick and tired of the fringe left and the fringe right. People want conversation.
Great leaders create an environment for the people that they lead to be successful in.
It's all straight ahead. The Capitol Rundown starts now.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson. We're just a couple of days from the Michigan primary, and the biggest question on the ballot is who Republicans will choose to run against incumbent Governor Democrat Gretchen Whitmer. This morning, we'll spend the next half hour profiling 4 of the 5 candidates for you. It's only 4 because Ryan Kelly chose not to participate in our series of interviews. We're going in alphabetical order, so we start with Jorma Duran's profile of Tudor Dixon.
Tudor Dixon's resume, both professionally and personally, shows success and a never-give-up attitude. 2 decades ago, she built a career in Michigan's steel industry, part of her family's business, then stepped away to become a mom and to battle breast cancer, which she beat. She then transitioned into a more public role, becoming a leading force for conservative media, but says right now our state needs an education overhaul.
We need a change right now.
She supports school choice in education, a merit pay program for teachers, and wants even more involvement from parents. She says that's been growing ever since the pandemic.
We have to look at the blessings that have come out of COVID, and because we have parents so involved right now, it's a great time to go to them and say, what can we do to make sure you can see what's happening in the classroom?
Dixon is a supporter of the Parents' Right to Know Act. She also wants a program that'll fund 25 hours of one-on-one or small group tutoring for every student in Michigan when it comes to reading and math to get our kids back on track.
We had students out of school longer than most other states, so what can we do to make sure that we're not behind? As you know, those literacy exams came back, and we've got half of our 3rd graders that are failing the literacy exams. So it means we need to get people caught up.
Sticking with schools, she says she wants to harden them up to keep our kids safe while in the classroom. She's in favor of resource officers with firearms patrolling schools, along with teachers packing heat, but will not budge on any type of gun reform, like banning assault weapons, even to people 21 or younger.
You're stopping an 18-year-old child from buying a weapon that you would gladly send him to war to use.
If you and I had an 18-year-old son or daughter who joins the Army, they don't give him an AR-15 on the first day. They have him go under training. They don't just give him a gun.
So your limit is 18, then it'll be 21,
Sure.
Then it will be 25. We are not going to whittle away at our Second Amendment rights. I'm not going to do it.
Dixon is also steadfast in her take on other hot topic issues like abortion. She's pro-life and supports the 1931 ban, which includes no abortion procedures, even in cases of rape or incest. On the economic front, Dixon supports a plan to phase out Michigan's personal income tax over time, reduce at least 40% of Michigan's regulatory code in order to attract new businesses, and push forward new pro-growth policies.
That's why we're losing businesses. So let's cut the red tape, get businesses here, and help them to be successful faster.
Dixon isn't really interested in renewable energy. In fact, is a big supporter of placing stronger protections for Line 5, drilling for more oil, and embracing policies under former President Donald Trump.
Joe Biden could immediately say, I'm going to start drilling for oil here and we're going to lower these prices. He's not doing that. We have the best economy we've had in decades under President Trump. Why isn't everybody saying, what the heck are we doing with Joe Biden?
That was Jorma Duran with Tudor Dixon. Well, coming up next here on the Capitol Rundown, we'll introduce you to another Republican in the running, Ralph Reban. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, we continue our profiles of the Republican men and women who want to be Michigan's next governor. I recently sat down with Ralph Reban. Take a listen as he lays out his top plans.
My name is Ralph Reban. I am a father, grandfather, and husband.
He's one of 5 Republican candidates running to take on Governor Gretchen Whitmer in November.
She locked up our economy, imprisoned our families, isolated our sick, and bankrupted our businesses.
He's a pastor and a police chaplain, a family man looking to restore what he sees as good old-fashioned American values back into government.
I see Michigan all over the state ripe for bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. Our country wasn't founded on Buddhism. It wasn't founded on the Quran. It was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And so it was those principles that have made America and Michigan great.
They're also principles he and his wife have built their family and legacy on.
We were 18 when we got married. We went off to college and seminary in Pennsylvania. We had 2 children during college, and then we had 2 children after we moved back to Michigan, after we started our church. I've been a pastor for 35 years at the same church, and we started it from scratch. And when I left last summer, we had 250 members.
But now Reban feels it's time to leave his current ministry and life's work to follow a new path.
Do you feel like this is something you're being called to at the moment?
I do. I would not have stepped away from 35 years at our church. Having planted it and then doing what I'm doing, I would not have stepped away from it unless I thought it was a calling.
He says that calling was clear in the wake of the Oxford school shooting last November.
As I'm standing in this crowd of, 2,000 or 3,000 people, I kept thinking to myself, why do we leave God out of the picture and only call on him when something drastically happens? We've taken God out of the classroom, we've taken God out of the courtroom, and we've taken God out of culture. Ethan Crumbly, before he went on the shooting spree, wrote a note, and his note was, "My life is meaningless." What else would we expect when we tell people they're the product of meaningless molecules bumping together billions of years ago? And so you're just a product of evolution, you have no meaning.
But bringing God back into our government isn't his only plan.
I tell people that I'm about truth, transparency, and accountability. I will make Michigan an open records state because the citizens deserve to know what happened with the nursing home. They deserve to know what happened with Robert Gordon.
And there are many things he says he would do differently moving forward, especially when it comes to the rights of citizens across the state.
I will fight for religious freedom, freedom of speech, for medical freedom, for election integrity, for the Second Amendment, and yes, I will fight for the unborn life.
I believe that life begins at conception, and science supports that. That baby, I'll just say, is not the woman's body. Science proves that. I'd be happy to chat with anybody about that.
Well, stay tuned because right after the break, we'll introduce you to Republican Kevin Rinke. He's up next when the Capitol Rundown continues. Our series of profiles of the Republican gubernatorial candidates continues. Here's Jorma Duran's story with Kevin Rinke.
Republican candidate for Michigan Governor Kevin Rinke is no stranger to running a successful business and hopes that wisdom will help him earn the GOP nomination.
The job of governor is to be the chief executive officer and run the business of the state. And I'm the only candidate, including Gretchen Whitmer, that has that experience.
For decades, Rinke owned and operated a group of car dealerships in the Detroit area and is currently touting his business expertise as the deciding factor for undecided voters if he faces Governor Whitmer.
I'm going to bring policies that create an environment for the people of Michigan to be successful in. And that stark contrast from Gretchen Whitmer's policies is going to be enough to separate me from her.
But despite his business savvy, most of us in mid-Michigan came to recognize Rinke with his TV campaign ad saying dead people not only vote, but do so for only Democrats, a claim he admits isn't true.
Of course they don't. It was tongue-in-cheek. And the ad was designed to get people to talk, and you know what? It was wildly successful.
But Rinke isn't fooling around, though, when it comes to being a driving force in election integrity.
We need to have a law that says if you vote more than once, that it's a felony, and hold people accountable. We need to have voter ID and to make sure that citizens who are qualified to vote are the only ones that are voting.
Rinke's biggest move, if elected, would be to fully eliminate Michigan's 4.25% personal income tax. If that were to happen, it would mean a $12 billion loss in annual revenue that's generated to fund state and local governments.
The $12 billion that goes back to the people of Michigan is because I trust them, and I believe that they know how to spend it better than Lansing.
As for guns, Rinke is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment and believes more needs to be done to address mental health issues before he'll consider any new firearm reforms. On abortion, Rinke is pro-life and says he will uphold the 1931 abortion ban if he becomes governor, but also says a ballot petition on abortion rights will likely be in front of voters in November, and he'll follow the will of Michiganders if that 1931 ban gets booted out.
I'm going to listen and watch this evolve and know that the people of Michigan are going to make the right decision for Michigan.
Rinke doesn't think the 2020 election was stolen, but despite 2 impeachment proceedings, numerous public hearings, pointing blame at Trump for inciting violence at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, Rinke would still love the former president's support.
I think that any candidate from any party would welcome an ex-president. My policies will mirror the policies of Donald Trump, and I think America was a heck of a lot better off.
But with such division between Democrats and Republicans right now, that doesn't mean any of his policies will actually be implemented. But that's where Rinke says things will be different.
Great leaders create an environment for the people that they lead to be successful in.
Thank you, Jorma. Well, stick around. We have one last candidate to tell you about. We'll introduce you to Garrett Soldano when the Capitol Rundown returns. Welcome back. We conclude our series on the Republican gubernatorial candidates now with Nate Salazar's profile of Garrett Soldano.
Garrett Soldano is a chiropractor, small business owner, public speaker, former football player, and describes himself as a proud Catholic. He says he's no stranger to the hardships felt by business owners statewide. And in 2020, he co-founded Stand Up Michigan and was a citizen co-chair of the Unlock Michigan campaign. Soldano says his goal is to reintroduce unity in Michigan's government and bridge the conversation gap between political parties.
People are sick and tired of the fringe left and the fringe right. People want conversation again. We need to have the difficult conversations from a variety of different people and backgrounds and experiences.
While he claims to be unwaveringly pro-life, he believes open conversation with pro-choice advocates is essential. Soldano built his campaign and online following protesting what he considers Governor Whitmer's tight restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. And he says he wishes to restore a government that serves rather than controls.
I think she's done so much damage to this state, not only with her unconstitutional lockdowns and hammering our kids in November 2020 when she took away their experiences, opportunities, and dreams.
Soldano says he has evolved the conversation away from COVID and COVID policy and is now focused on inflation, the economy, and gas prices.
I'm all of the above on energy. And we have the most storage capacity for natural gas in the union in the state of Michigan. And Michigan is primed and ready for energy independent, but we need a leader with some foresight. And that's what I'm going to bring to the table.
Soldano also stands strong in his beliefs that Second Amendment rights should remain untouched.
We don't have a gun problem, we have a culture problem. We have a division that's happening to our police officers and the police culture. So no, I'm for the Second Amendment. And we must always remember that Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment.
When asked what his first day in office would look like, Soldano said he is making mask mandates illegal and banning critical race theory in schools, though it is only taught at the college level.
I will be banning it because I don't believe you should be teaching my kids this type of stuff in schools. If you want to teach my kid anything, how about critical math, critical science, critical reading? You can teach my kid how to critically think, but you have no right to teach my kid what to think.
While he has never held elected office, Soldano believes his strong leadership background and ability to motivate will bring the power back to the people and recover unity in Michigan's government.
I wear like a badge of honor that I have no political experience. People aren't real now, and it's time for ordinary people to do extraordinary things, and that's what we've been able to do over the past 2.5 years. We must continue to inspire and activate Michigan's greatest asset, and that is the people to get things done.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk with our resident expert and get Tim's take on what to expect this Tuesday. That's when the Capitol Rundown returns. Well, you've heard from most of the candidates this morning, and now for the last time before primary day on August 2nd, you'll hear from Jorma Duran and Capitol correspondent Tim Skubik.
It's time to get updated politically here in the state of Michigan. Nobody better than this guy right here, Tim Skubik, to get us the details. And Tim, I have to believe the weekend before a state primary, oh, it's such a good time to be alive, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one way of putting it.
It's coming down to the final 5 here in the GOP race. It seems like at one point or another, everyone has led the poll. So what's the update?
Well, this is, to borrow Tom Izzo's line, this is a jump ball. We don't know who the winner is going to be, and it probably won't be determined until late on election night. We're heading up to Tuesday, and of course, the only game in town, as you point out correctly, these 5 Republicans who are desperately trying to win this governor's nomination for the right to take on Gretchen Whitmer in the fall. It appears that it's Kevin Rinke and Tudor Dixon that are going at it the most. They are the only ones that are on TV, and their exchanges are not exactly polite. He is accusing her of being beholden to the DeVos family and billionaires who are anti-Trump, and she is accusing him of basically not telling the truth in his commercials, and say they go back and forth. The other 2 gentlemen that are in this race, Mr. Kelly and Mr. Soldano, do have a shot at this thing. Our pollster is telling us that their supporters have not voted absentee, but if they show up in large numbers at the polls on Tuesday, theoretically, they could win this thing as well. So we've never seen anything like this before. And here's the, if you'll pardon the expression, the Trump card in all of this belongs to a gentleman by the name of Trump. So far, he has not endorsed, as we tape here on a Friday morning, he has not endorsed in this race for governor. The betting money is right now that he won't, but the betting money sometimes is wrong. And if he does, the popular wisdom in town is if he makes an endorsement of whomever, that person wins. We have never, underscore, never, Jorma, in this state, had a situation where one person outside of the state, nonetheless, could determine the outcome of who the Republican nominee for governor is going to be. It's unprecedented, it's historic if it happens, and it could be a game changer.
Well, I'm excited for Tuesday. Always great to get updated by you, Mr. Skubik. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, both of you. Well, if you're interested in getting more political news from Michigan and Washington, we have just the thing for you. You can sign up for our Capitol Rundown newsletter. It's just 1 email each week, and you can get it by pointing your cell phone camera at that symbol on your screen right now. It will take you to the sign-up page, or you can head to WLNS.com/newsletters. Well, that's our show for this week. Don't forget to vote, and we'll talk you through that primary results next week right here on the Capitol Rundown. Thanks for watching.